Big news, veterans. If you've ever dreamed of owning your dream home with 0% down, VA loans are about to change forever. In 2025, the VA loan program is introducing massive updates that could dramatically increase your purchasing power. What's up, guys? My name is McKeown, and welcome to the Veteran Advantage channel. I'm a proud U.S. Marine Corps veteran and had the honor of serving from 2008 to 2012 out of Camp Pendleton, California. Now, whether or not you're on active duty, getting ready to transition into civilian life, or just curious about the benefits available after serving in the military, this channel is going to have you covered. So go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe to the channel and stay tuned for more future content. Now let's start with the first and big headline moving into 2025, and that is the conforming loan limits are increasing yet again for the year 2025. Now, just announced for the FHFA and Fannie Mae, these new limits will jump all the way up to $806,500. Now this means you, as a veteran or active duty service member, can now buy a home up to that amount with zero down. But here's where it even gets better. Thanks to the Blue Water Navy Vietnam Veteran Act of 2020, VA loan caps were removed for eligible borrowers. So while the $806,500 is a key threshold, it's not necessarily a hard limit. You can still borrow more without a down payment as long as you meet the lender's income and credit qualifications. However, exceeding this threshold may result in slightly different mortgage terms or interest rates. So it's always a good idea to talk with your lender about your specific situation. Now, me personally, I have utilized my VA loan multiple different times. Even before that was enacted in 2020, I utilized my first VA loan in 2017, reused it, or I guess the remaining amount in 2019 before that even became effective. And I'm going to utilize it again, not likely in 2025, but in 2026 when I convert the construction loan that I have into a permanent VA loan. Now, the good part about that is the construction loan that I have, once it's fully exhausted and my builder has drawn all the funds, I'm going to be sitting at about $3.2 million for the house that I'm building, and I'm going to be able to refinance that into fully a VA loan because I've actually sold those two properties I purchased back in 2017 and back in 2019. Those two properties that I had VA loans on allowed me to replenish the entirety of my VA loan, allowing me likely next year in 2026 to be able to convert my construction loan entirely and get a VA loan north of $3 million. Now let's talk about qualifying for a VA loan. Now, the VA itself doesn't lend you the money. It essentially guarantees the loan, meaning it backs up to 25% of the loan amount for the lender. The lender is now the one determining whether or not you qualify, which is why your income, credit score, and debt to income ratio are so important. But that's why VA loans are so unique and powerful. First and foremost, there is no private mortgage insurance, or what we call PMI. PMI is essentially an extra added on monthly fee that you'd pay on any other types of loans like FHA or conventional, and it doesn't benefit you at all. It's just insurance for the lender in case you do default, and with a VA loan, you skip that expense entirely, saving hundreds of dollars a month and thousands over the life of the loan. Now, on top of that, VA loans often come with lower interest rates, and in my experience, I've had rates that are anywhere from low 2%, technically even high 1% back in 2020 and 2021, all the way up to likely right now you'd be sitting anywhere maybe in the 5s with a solid VA loan. Now, that's without saying what may come in 2025 with interest rates. We're all expecting the Fed to continue to lower rates, which don't necessarily correlate with mortgage rates. But if the economy continues to head in the direction that I think we're all thinking it's going to head, then we could see lower interest rates, hopefully throughout the remainder of this year. And while we're talking about rates, VA loan rates are going to be the best out there. Now, this is going to give you just a rough ballpark, but let's just say a VA loan is a 5% interest rate. That's essentially what you can get right now on par. I'm not saying January 3rd when we're filming this, that's exactly what you can get, but it's what we're going to use for an example, okay? 5% VA rate, par, meaning you're not buying it down and you're not buying it up. Essentially what you're probably looking for, FHA, maybe 5 1/8, 5 1/4, a little bit higher than where VA is. Now, FHA though, if you look, you're gonna probably say, hey, FHA is the same percent. But now if you talk to your lender and they give you maybe an even lower or maybe the same rate for FHA, what they aren't hiding is the fact that there is going to be, as I mentioned before, that permanent property mortgage insurance, something that you can't get rid of with an FHA loan. And again, with a VA loan, you're never gonna have property mortgage insurance. So you may be able to get an FHA loan at the same rate as a VA loan, but keep in mind it's going to have more closing costs and that property mortgage insurance is well tied right into it. Now let's say you move over to the idea of maybe entertaining a conventional loan. If you're looking at 5% with your VA, you're probably looking at 5.75% for a traditional conventional loan, maybe a little bit lower than that. So again, for the most part, a VA loan, if you qualify for it, it's going to be the best loan for you and likely the one that makes the most sense. But at the end of the day, you really should talk to a licensed professional, meaning a mortgage loan officer, not me myself. I am a realtor with experience and lots of it when it comes to the VA loan. But again, talking to a professional is always going to be advised. Now let's talk about another perk of the VA loan. Now, if you're at least 10% service connected, the VA funding fee is going to be waived. Now, this is a fee that most veterans pay when utilizing their VA loan benefit, which can add up to thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars over multiple home purchases. Now, if you qualify for the waiver, that's money that you can keep in your pocket. Now, VA loans aren't just for single family homes though as well. You use your VA loan to purchase a condo, a townhome, or even a multi-unit property like a duplex or a fourplex. As long as you live in one of those units, you can also use your VA loan to build a new home, renovate an existing one, or even refinance your current mortgage. There is a ton of flexibility here. Now, me personally, as I mentioned earlier in this video, I made a purchase with my VA loan in 2017. I used a VA loan for a duplex. I lived on one side, I rented the 2 bedrooms upstairs, lived in the primary bedroom downstairs, and had a tenant paying me rent on the complete other side of the duplex. Fast forward about 2.5 years later, I purchased another multifamily home, still already with an existing VA loan on that duplex. I exhausted what was remaining of my VA loan at that time, which really goes back to that entitlement that I mentioned earlier in this video, that $806,500. I exhausted it entirely because when you use multiple VA loans, that entitlement comes into play. So I exhausted what was left over of my entitlement, and in 2019, I purchased a quadplex. I lived in one unit, I rented out the other 3 units. Unfortunately, or I should say fortunately enough, my unit was not large enough to rent out other bedrooms in my unit. It was about 700 square feet and only 2 bedrooms, but I was still being able to get rent from all 3 other units to cover a majority, if not all, of my mortgage. So by the time I closed on that fourplex, I now had a duplex with my VA loan and a quadplex, essentially giving myself 3 tenants on my quadplex and 2 tenants with my duplex, totaling 5 tenants that paid me on a monthly basis to be able to occupy 2 properties that I technically didn't even put any money down to purchase. Now, when you're planning your home purchase, it's essential to focus on what you're comfortable spending each month. Now, just because a lender qualifies you for a certain amount doesn't mean you need to max it out. I always recommend that you look at your monthly budget in terms of what you're comfortable spending. I actually had a recent conversation with another veteran family who's basically using 50%, and this is someone that has unfortunately already purchased a home, but they're trying to now sell it because they're realizing how expensive it is. You shouldn't be using 50% of your take-home pay on your mortgage payment. Now, I know interest rates are not as low as they have been in years previous, but you still need to stick within a budget. Even if you're qualified for a lot more than you're ultimately going to spend, you're probably better off spending far less than you expected than trying to push your budget and put yourself into a position where you're house poor. Now, another thing to keep in mind is the flexibility of VA loan terms. Now, you're not locked into a 30-year mortgage if that doesn't fit your goals. Now, VA loans can be structured for 15 years, for 25 years, or even other terms, allowing you to build equity faster if that's what you're trying to aim for. And yes, you can always use a VA loan to refinance. There are essentially 2 different types: the VA IRRRL, which is a streamlined option when rates drop, and then you have a cash out refinance, which lets you tap into your home's equity for things like paying off high interest debt or funding a home remodel. Now, while I'm talking about a cash out refinance with a VA loan, you will have to refinance out of your actual VA loan into a conventional loan. You can't do a straight cash out refi from a VA loan to a VA loan. So keep that in mind. For most veterans, if all you're trying to do is lower your monthly payment and get a lower rate, you're likely going to be sticking to the VA IRRRL. So if you're planning to use your VA loan in 2025, or if you have specific questions about your situation, I'd love to help. As a veteran myself, as a realtor, and just someone that is in the industry on a daily basis, I love giving back to the veterans as well as active duty individuals. Make sure to leave a comment in the comment section down below if you have any questions whatsoever, or reach out to me directly via the pinned comment down below. All of my information should be easily accessible, but if you don't want to reach out directly, just leave a comment down below, and like I said before, I'll get back to just about every comment. Thanks again for watching, guys. I appreciate the support. Make sure to like and subscribe. It really does help, and stay tuned for the next video.